here. This is your favorite Spider Pan, and I'm going to take a little tour here of the Vaile Mansion in Independence, which was built in 1881 by Harvey Vaile. They called him a colonel, but he wasn't really a colonel. It's a really cool Victorian home in Independence, and I'm going to go inside here and take a little tour. So come along with me, and we'll learn a few things. I'm going to go inside. Oh, and conveniently the door is opening as soon as I walk up. How nice. It's like you saw me coming or something. Oh,
Vaile Mansion.
Well, thank you.
My name is Amelia. I am one of the housemaids here at Vaile Mansion. I was a kitchen maid, but I have a lovely opportunity to come up and become trained as a housemaid. So here I am in training. So this is the gentleman's withdrawing room, or the gentleman's parlor, depending on how you like to call it. It's painted green because Colonel Vaile's favorite color is green. Colonel is an honorary title. He was not in the military. A couple of the key points in this particular room are the American chocolate marble fireplace. There are two in the home. It has a little bit more masculine feel than many of the others, so you'll only see them generally in the masculine rooms. The chandelier that's in here is a matching one to the pink, which is the formal parlor across the way there. They are a matching set. They were originally intended. Yeah, there's a lot of things to flip back and forth.
Yeah.
They were originally intended for the White House, and they found a small flaw. I can't talk today. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
A small flaw was found, and so of course they could not be used. They were not suitable for the White House. So Colonel Vaile purchased them for $900 for the set, and he brought them here.
So the White House, like the White House of Washington, D.C.? Wow.
So this is the music room, or the blue room as we like to call it. This is where you would come directly after dinner out of the dining room, where we're going to head next. And what you would do is you would come in here, and so for whatever entertainment, maybe you would have somebody play the pump organ that's here behind you, or the checkering piano there. Or perhaps maybe if you didn't feel like playing an instrument, but maybe one of the ladies wanted to sing for the gentleman. And if none of that was a possibility, your first choice of entertainment, of course you could have used the music box behind me in the corner here. And I'll actually go ahead and play that for you so you can hear it.
Oh, neat.
So. So the house, Colonel and Mrs. Vaile got married in, I believe it was February of 1861. And from 61 to 1871, they traveled around France to different chateaus and things in Europe to get inspiration for the home here. And then from 71 is when they started building it, and it took 10 years to build all the way till 1881. They moved in early spring of 1881. So it cost $150,000 to build the house, and $100,000 of that was spent on bricks alone. So in today's money, that's about $4 million.
Yeah.
So quite a pricey house. So the fireplace here that you were just taking a video of is actually a Vermont gray marble fireplace. The significance of that is Colonel Vaile was from Vermont, so it's like having a little piece of home for him.
Yeah.
You'll notice all of these have a little bit different motif on them. A lot of them have to do with grape leaves. That's because of Mr. Vaile's love of wine. So they had, I think it was said he wanted to dedicate, I believe it's 1,200 acres to his own vineyard on the property here, but he never did end up doing that. As you can see, we have our table set modestly for lunch. Just for a setting of 8. Of course, if we were going to be doing dinner, we'd be doing what's very common practice in 1881. It's also the height of basically society is to do a Russian service, which is a 17 to 19 course meal.
Wow.
So if you can imagine 17 to 19 courses. So about all you could do probably was go for your entertainment and then sit in the other room.
Yeah.
So, and it also depended on how many people you were going to have for dinner, or who was coming, really, was the big thing. If you had somebody that was of great importance, of course, you would have been doing full 19-course meal. If you had 17, you were having a lazy day. So, again, the motif changes on the fireplace here.
Yeah.
This is the red parlor, or the women's withdrawing room, or this was also probably a family sitting room, because it was a more informal parlor. Over here we have the screens in front of the fireplace. These you'll only see generally in a ladies' room. The reason for that is if hot coal or soot or anything flew out of the fireplace, this would catch it from hitting your dress, so this is protection of the lady. Over here we have Mrs. Vaile's headpiece, which is proudly displayed above the mantle because of course she loves it, and it's a great reminder of the vows that they took on their wedding night. So the wreath that you were shooting there in the frame is a hair wreath. What that is basically it was made from pieces of hair. It could have been maybe your friend or your mother who had passed, or your grandmother who had passed away, anybody like that. It was also very common in Civil War for women to make mementos or keepsakes out of hair and to send them away with the gentleman. It was considered a very high art form, and basically it wasn't completed until you felt like it was. There are 21 fireplaces in the house. This is going to be the most expensive of the fireplaces. This is a Italian Carrara marble fireplace. And what this is it's inlaid on the pillars and the top there with a pink onyx, so when you light the fireplace it glows pink.
Oh, neat.
Right, so that costs about $1,500, but Mr. Vaile had that put in for Mrs. Vaile. The clock that's here, I'll show it to you. There's a portrait of Mr. Vaile in the hallway. This is original to the house, and is one of the few pieces that is. So, you might notice this odd-shaped piece of furniture here in the middle of the room and be questioning what that is. This is a tete-a-tete, is what that's called, or better known as a courting chair. So you have a lady on one side and a gentleman on the other, with lots of space, as they say, for the Holy Spirit in between.
Sure.
So there was no skin-to-skin contact in Victorian time. That was definitely and certainly not allowed. So you'll notice too at the bottom there, and it's on both sides, it looks like it's missing a foot on the chair. It's actually part of the design of the chair. That's intentional, so that way if you leaned one way or the other and you weren't supposed to be, the whole chair would tip with you. So it's all about balance. Is the grand entrance that we have. The reason we talk about this is because of course you have your grand double door entry, and not only do you have a double door entry, but you have this very intricately designed glass, which is etched glass, which is uncommonly seen. You won't even see it much on the East Coast in houses of this age. It was mostly stained glass or things like that. So you might have seen this in a very exquisitely expensive hotel. That was about the only place you would have seen it. So, and this is the original glass. Fortunately, it never did get broken. So the other thing to point out is the tile that's in here in the front hallway. The reason I point the tile out is the people that actually did the tile in the White House also did the tile here.
Oh, cool.
There's a place over, I believe it's in Paris, it's over in Europe, but I believe it's in France somewhere, but they're the ones that make the tile. But you'll notice there's a very intricate design of the tiles, and then of course you have all these lovely colors and different parts to it. So if you ever go into the Truman home, you'll notice they have the exact same floor as us. They copied ours. And then, of course, we have our portrait on the left there of Mrs. Vaile, who's wearing green, ironically, because that was his favorite color.
With her pink table, though.
With her pink table, though. Right, and her pink flowers. Okay, so we don't usually show people the closets, but since you're doing a video, I'll show you the closet. So, interesting thing about closets, you'll notice there are hangers in there, but there's no rod for a hanger. It's all hooks. They wouldn't have actually had hangers in here because, interestingly enough, hangers weren't invented until 1907. So, hangers were not in existence yet. So, all right. So I have to tell you something very important about the house, and I don't mean to brag, but we are the first house in the county with plumbing indoors.
Nice.
So we have a lovely commode in there, along with a tin-lined bath or a copper-lined bathtub. You're welcome to go look.
Yeah, might as well. Fancy.
Very fancy. So everything in this house is all about excess.
Well, sure, if you can, go for it.
Right. So this is the master bedroom. This is Colonel and Mrs. Vaile's bedroom. I have to talk about the most important thing here is the mural on the ceiling. The reason I have to mention it is quite the scandal when the house was built. So they hired an artist to come in and paint a likeness. Basically, it was said that Mrs. Vaile was the inspiration for the lady on the ceiling. The only problem was that she wasn't completely clothed. If you notice, she's still not quite all the way. Well, of course, the ladies in town all caught wind of it. It became a big scandal. So they all kept coming to visit because they had to see the painting on the ceiling. So they all came to see it, and for modesty's sake, later on, they hired the artist to come back and put the piece of lace over her. Obviously, it's a very sheer piece of lace, but there it is.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of things that Mr. Vaile did to make his living. So right here we have the Oak Grove Landing Cattle Co., which was actually in Oak Grove, Texas, not Oak Grove, Missouri. And he took longhorn cattle and he bred them with European types of cattle to come up with new breeds. Up here we have the Star Mail route lines, which started in Independence, and they go to all these different places, and they were actually government contracts very similar to the Pony Express. He was actually on trial when Mrs. Vaile passed away, being basically they thought he had committed mail fraud. So it was a very serious charge. And he was acquitted. He never did get charged, but she didn't live long enough to find that out, and his business partners did go to jail. So I don't know what they were doing, but it obviously wasn't good. So the other thing I like to point out in this room is this particular alcove. It's interesting because it's the only one in the house that's specifically built in to hold a piece of artwork, and it matches of course, the chocolate marble. But it was just interesting because I guess this just happened to be the room that got it. So.
Sure, this is just a cheerful looking room.
This is a very cheerful room.
Yeah.
So I was going to actually mention that you probably noticed this is about the brightest room in the whole house.
Yeah.
Being that there are 4 windows and 2 gasoliers on the ceiling, it allows for lots of lighting. This was Mrs. Vaile's office area. This is where she would have attended any correspondence to write letters back and forth, where she would have done any meal planning or guest lists or party planning, anything of that sort. She would have done all of that up here. The reason that it's so bright, though, is because as a lady, you never want to strain yourself. And, of course, straining your eyesight was probably the worst thing you could do, so he had to make sure she had plenty of lighting. Behind you there, we have the pantry. You're welcome to walk in there if you'd like. This is where we would have kept a few dried goods and things, but, of course, we would have had our serving dishes and anything else we might have needed for the finishing kitchen up here. Of course, we have our lovely washing machine here, which is brand new. And, of course, if you'd like to come back on Sunday afternoons, that's when we do laundry after church. So this is our German ice box here. What this is essentially a refrigerator. If you actually feel the glass, it is cold inside, even though there's no ice in it. It holds cool. It holds cool very well.
That's impressive.
But what you would do is you would drop your block of ice here in the top, and then of course when it melted, you'd turn the spigot at the bottom, which is what makes it a German ice box, and then replace the ice block. Now, I'm sure that you're very familiar with historic homes, so I'm sure that you already know this, but I will tell you, of course this would have been under the window, not over here. The reason it would have been under the window, as I'm sure you well know, is because the Iceman delivered ice through the window, not to the middle of the room.
Yeah.
So, this is the only room, interestingly enough, that does not have a stone fireplace. It has a wood fireplace. You may be wondering why that is, and it's a very simple answer. Of course, if you didn't know to think about it, you probably wouldn't have. It was just decorational. You wouldn't have ever used this fireplace because you never needed to heat this room because you had this rather large stove behind you that would have heated the whole room, which is a very common sense thing to think about, but most of us, I didn't occur to me either until I got here.
So you think about it like, oh yeah.
Right, exactly. That's kind of my response too. I don't think Mr. and Mrs. Vaile never had any children, so they didn't have any descendants to leave the home to. So actually when Mr. Vaile passed away, 11 years after Mrs. Vaile did, he left the house and he willed it to be a ladies' college, which was very, very forward thinking for the time. Because even in late 1800s, almost 1900s, turn of the century, you still didn't really have ladies going to college. It was pretty unheard of. It was maybe just starting to become an idea, really. So he willed it to become a women's college. Well, they couldn't stay open for very long because they couldn't support themselves very well. So it was a very short period of time. And then it became a nursing home for a tiny bit, and then it became an insane asylum, actually, from 1930 to 1981.
Wow.
Well, 1930s to 1981.
Woo.
So, and there are still rooms from that on the 3rd floor. So
My
actually,
goodness.
the room that we came through, that was her office area. That room that you said was really pleasant. That's actually would have been a surgeon's room at the time. So because of all the lighting, which makes a lot of sense. But they did leave lobotomies in the house. I didn't know we've had people coming because they aired that show about the home here and about independence. It was Haunted Towns was the show. And a lot of the stuff they said, unfortunately, is not accurate. We have no proof of that. There was a lot of claims that were made that as historians that were in the house a lot, and it's things that were like, what, we've never heard of that, that's not so. And going back, there's no documented proof. I think one of the things they had said on the show was that there was 3 people that died that they could confirm died of lobotomies in the house. We have all the medical records because they basically up and left, and all of the records were in boxes in the house.
Wow.
Just in storage. And there was a gentleman that's part of the Vaile Mansion Society that went through, and he kept all the records, and he organized them by day, month, or by day, week, month, and year. And as far as we know, and he had a medical background, so of course he was interested specifically in those particular files, and as far as we know, nobody ever actually died from a lobotomy in this house.
Of course, this video has been edited down. If you would like to see the full version, please look down below for a link to our Patreon page where I will make a full uncut version of this video with a lot more things to see here in the Vaile Mansion, available only to our Patreon supporters. And of course, check out the Neverland Podcast on neverlandpodcast.com. Search for us on iTunes, Stitcher, and everywhere under Neverland to Disney and beyond.